excited to introduce our guest speaker tonight. This guy is so passionate about helping people affected by addiction personally or in their family. He's a certified addiction counselor. He's a pastoral counselor. He's served in different capacities at Lifelines over the years. He was actually our security team leader for many years. Do me a favor, give it up for Mr. Jeremiah Wright. Jeremiah, come on down.
Oh, I hope I don't suck. All right, so I got to give you a warning. The last time I spoke at Lifelines, it was March 2020, and they shut this place down for over a year afterwards. Some people say it was because of COVID, but I know what it was really for. So if something amazing happens, you know, it's probably coming. My name is Jeremiah. I am a certified addiction treatment counselor. I have this long title, certified with the state of California. I'm also a pastoral counselor, and I also walk around a lot, and they told me not to move past this line. So if you see me swaying, just push me back or yell at me or say something. The reason I'm here tonight is not because I'm a counselor, not because I'm a pastor. The reason I'm here tonight is because my name is Jeremiah, and I'm an addict. And I have over 20 years sober. You know, today is my daughter's 14th birthday, and I haven't seen her in over 2 years. I have family in my life that still treats me like I'm that 24-year-old meth addict. And I'm 20 years sober. I've accomplished things in my life. I've owned businesses, and I've done all this stuff. And we get to the step that says making amends. And we think that, hey, if we go up and we apologize and we change our life, everything's going to be okay. And that didn't happen in my life. My ex-wife currently does everything she possibly can to keep my biological kids from me. My daughter's 14 today. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what's going on. But my ex-wife tells them, your dad's an addict. He's going to hurt you. Stay away from him. So they listen to her and they believe that. I have family who still treats me like I'm an addict. And I made those amends. So we think just because we work the steps, everything's going to be okay and work out. So what I have to do is I have to hold on to the Serenity Prayer. And it's like, God, help me to accept the things I cannot change. I can't change my ex-wife. I can't change my family. I can't change the people I've hurt, that I've robbed, that I've stolen from. I can't change the relationship with them. So give me the courage to change the things I can. And the only thing I know that I can change is myself. And I have that wisdom, and God's given me that wisdom. And when we look at the Serenity Prayer, we say the short version of the Serenity Prayer, but that's actually half of it. There's a longer version that says, I accept life as it is, not the way I would have it. I got to tell you, as an addict, I can create the life that I want. I can create all these dreams and visions and everything and say, this is the way it should be, but this is the way it is. And I have to ask myself, am I going to live in the dream? Am I going to live in that and build a resentment? Or am I going to live in reality today and how life truly is? And then it goes on and says, accepting hardship as the pathway to peace. Jerry shared a minute ago that he just wanted to be okay. And I can tell you the way to just be okay is accepting hardship as the pathway to that peace. And we as addicts, we don't want it hard. We want it easy. We want the easy way out. We don't want to stay in treatment. We don't want to listen to our counselor. We don't want to listen to our therapist. We don't want to get a sponsor because I don't need one. You see, I'm different. I'm better. I'm special. And everybody in here thinks they're special. And the problem is we're so special. But it's not the special people that stay sober. It's the average person who does the average things that stays sober. I first got high when I was 4 years old. I woke up, I lived in a party house. I went to the kitchen as a 4-year-old, after watching cartoons. I found this giant cookie, and it was a marijuana cookie, and I ate it without knowing that. I started getting sick, woke my mom up. She freaked out. I don't remember what happened after that because I was stoned at 4. That's where I grew up in. I knew what cocaine was before I went to kindergarten. I knew it was a powder you snort up your nose. I grew up with guys passed out in my house. I grew up with new guys in my mom's life all the time. This continual cycle of it, alcohol, cocaine, marijuana. While I was playing on the slides as a kid, I'd look over and see my mom as a circle, and they're passing around the doobie. For you that don't know, that's a joint. I'm kind of dating myself here. One of my favorite records as a kid my mom had, it was called Have a Marijuana. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but I would play that record, and I thought it was the coolest thing. You know, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to smoke pot, you're supposed to drink, and you're supposed to snort coke. And that's what I learned at 4 and 5. So when I grew up, my mom thought it would be a great idea to get me a male role model in my life, and she decided to marry this coke addict alcoholic. And I thought it was cool. The first time I met him, my mom put us in the car, went to this back alley, picked him up because he was running from the cops, took him to our house and said, here's your new dad. And that was my life growing up. And this guy thought it was a good idea to teach me to be a man. And to teach me to be a man, he would play this game called Punch. Anybody play that game? 30-year-old man is hitting an 11-year-old kid as hard as he can, and it's my job to hit him back. And if I don't hit him back, he's going to hit me back. And it's a cycle. And me breaking down crying at 11, just praying that this guy would give up and stop hitting me back. And that's how I learned to be a man. And that's what I thought life was. So eventually, my mom got tired of this guy breaking her jaw and hitting her. She decided that I don't want to be in this abusive relationship anymore. I don't care about my kids being abused. But she got out of that. And here I am, going into high school, completely broken, no self-esteem, no self-worth. The only thing I know is drugs and alcohol. What do I find when I get to high school? Drugs and alcohol. And I thought it was cool because this is what I was supposed to do. My mom taught me important lessons in life. The first one, always buy cigarettes by the carton because you get more for your buck. And always buy weed by at least the ounce because you get more for your buck. So these are the lessons my mom passed on to me, and this is what I knew. This is my life I lived. So I started binge drinking on weekends. I started smoking pot every day, and I eventually found methamphetamines. I love Jerry. I love his story. We're both meth freaks. And I found meth, and life made sense. It was the greatest thing ever. I was completely numb. I didn't have to worry about my self-esteem. I didn't have to worry about problems. I didn't have to worry about anything. All I had to do was break into your house, steal your stuff, trade it for meth, and that was great. That was my life. I didn't care where I lived. I didn't care what house I was at. I didn't care if I was homeless. That was my life. And eventually I got caught and I got arrested. First time I was arrested, 4 counts of breaking and entering. The judge pulls me in and says, look, you got an option. You can do a year in CYA or you can do a year in rehab. So I had an option, something that sucked and something that really sucked. So as an 18-year-old kid, I chose the year in rehab. And I went to this program. It's called Teen Challenge. Some of you probably heard of it. And they told me, hey, look, this is how you get right. This is how you get sober. You pray and you read the Bible and you'll be okay. So I bought into that. I prayed. I read the Bible. I went through this year-long program. I got sober. I was on fire for God. I went to ministry school. I started working as a pastor in East Los Angeles. I started doing park outreaches to these kids in East Los Angeles who were poor, who grew up with addicts as parents, in poverty. And it was a calling in my life, and I loved these kids, and I would do outreaches to them. But the thing is that I would still pray, and I would read my Bible, and I still wasn't okay. I wasn't. Because, you see, I had no self-esteem. My stepdad taught me I was a piece of crap, so I believed that. I would look at myself in the mirror, and words would come out of my mouth. You're worthless. You're a piece of crap. No one will ever love you. Because that's what I was taught. That was ingrained in me. And every time I looked at myself in the mirror, that's all I saw. So I wasn't okay. I never dealt with that in my life. So eventually I left that place. I went back home to Fresno. Don't ever go to Fresno. It's a horrible place. Anybody from Fresno? I'm sorry, man. You know what I mean. It's probably 115 there right now. And it's one of the meth capitals of California. Probably everywhere is California is the meth capital of California. So I got back there, and I'm sober. I had 4 years sobriety, and I started hanging out with the wrong people again. I thought, I'm 4 years sober. I can hang out with whoever I want. I was hanging out with guys who were drinking, smoking, and what did I eventually do? Started drinking and smoking. You hang out in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. So I thought I could do that. And then eventually I ran into another guy who was doing meth. What do you think I started doing? Started doing meth. But I thought I was above that. I had 4 years sober. I'm not going to ever use again. And the next thing I know, I'm using again. And the next thing I know, I'm breaking into houses in my 20s, making fake checks on computers because I'm advanced now. Computer system. And you got to understand, this is all pre-cell phone time. We had pagers back then. We thought we were really cool. And then those pagers came out. You could actually type something and see it. It was really... Anyways, so here I am. I'm an adult. I'm 23. I've relapsed. I'm running on meth again. I got to tell you, meth is a great drug. I love meth. Can I say that? Is this a safe place? I loved meth a lot. So here I am. I'm homeless again. I got nowhere to go. I meet this girl. She's going to save me, rescue me. If you're ever using and someone tries to rescue you, that person's insane. But what do we do as addicts? We take advantage of that situation. I had a place to crash. She gave me money. I had a place to sleep, money, and I kept using. And then one day she came to me and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant." And I'm like, "How'd that happen?" And she said, "Well, you stuck your penis in my vagina." And then that. So here I am. I'm a meth addict. I got no job. I got no money. I can't even stay sober. And I got arrested again, making checks. It caught up with me. I actually made the checks, gave them to someone. They were going to go cash them. They got caught and eventually ratted me out. And you know how that goes. So here I am again. I'm back before the judge. And he says, "Look, I'm going to give you 90 days in lockup. And 90 days in county jail is not really that bad. You'll do half time, you'll get out." But I thought to myself, look, I'm now living for something other than myself. I'm going to be a father. And I don't want to be the father that I had. I don't want to be that for my kids. I want to be something different. So I asked them if I can go back to rehab. They said yes. I went back to a 6-month program. A week later, I ran away. I didn't really want to get sober, and I left. And I ended up on the streets. I was calling people to come pick me up. I was in San Diego. No one would answer the phone. If they didn't answer the phone, they told me to go back to rehab. So I went back and I asked them, could I come back in? So I did. And then I finished a 6-month program, fulfilled my court commitment, went back home and said, I'm going to do it different this time. I'm not going to hang out with people who use. Scratch that off. I'm not going to hang out with people who drink. I'll scratch that off. I'm going to be a father. And remember when I told you if someone tries to rescue you when you're an addict, it's probably a bad thing? Well, I thought I'd be responsible and marry that person, and it would work out great. And I got to tell you, she was a sociopath. Every day, daily, fighting, battles. She would hit me, and I'm a man, I wouldn't hit her back. And that was our life for like 5 years. I decided to have another kid. Maybe she would be happy if she had another kid, so we had another kid. So here I am, living with this woman. I weigh about 300 pounds because of all the depression, all the anxiety, everything I'm fighting with. Still sober, but the most unhealthy, dry drunk you ever met. Angry, bitter, road rage. I'd cut you off, slam on my brakes, take out all this frustration and anger and pain I had out on you. And I lived like that way. Then eventually I told her, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. So she took the kids and she moved to Fountain Valley. I'm living in this apartment, and I'm getting eviction notices, get out. I'm calling family, no response. No one's going to help me. I'm sitting in this apartment, and I start praying, and I say, God, I honestly, I don't know what to do. And God said, don't trip, I got you. It's really tough being up here today because I really want to know what's going on in my daughter's life. It's really tough. I just want to break down crying right now. So the way God, when I talked earlier about hardship as the pathway to peace, God doesn't do anything easy. He doesn't just open this magical door, you walk through it, and everything's okay. I'm sitting at my house, and I get a knock on the door, and it's the Clovis Police Department. What's going on? They say, are you Jeremiah Wright? I say, yeah. They say, can you step outside? And I know what that means. I'm like, no. So they take me outside, they handcuff me, they take me to the police car, they put me in the back of it, they take me down to the station, and they say, look, you're arrested for kidnapping and assault. What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. They say your next door neighbor said you assaulted her, attacked her, and tried to beat her up. This woman was friends with my ex-wife. Did I tell you she's a sociopath? So I'm sitting in jail for the first time in my life, sober, and actually innocent of the crime I'm being accused of. And I don't know how to react to that. I mean, I've been arrested plenty of times, sitting there under the influence, knowing I'm lying out of my butt, knowing I'm going to jail, know I'm probably going to get OR'd in a couple of days and I'll be back out on the street. So it's going to suck for a couple of days, but I'll get back out and I can use again. But the thing is that when they booked me into the Fresno County Jail, they told me my bail was $750,000. And they put me in general population. I've been in general population my whole life. I know the deal. I know the politics. I walk in. They tell me, we saw you on the news. It has said you attacked a young woman. You have two options. We can roll you out, or you can step out. At that point, you have two options. I stepped out. I'm not going to have 30 guys beating me down, and that's stupid. So they took me, and they put me in a PCR, protective custody. Gang dropout, snitches, child molesters, rapists, murderers, all the wonderful people in the world. And here I'm sitting in this pod. And I'm like, God, you remember when you said you got me? This isn't what I was expecting. So I got to tell you, I cried like a little boy. And I sat there for days. Days turn into weeks. I go to court. I'm like, well, I didn't do this. Can I get out? And they say, no, we need to postpone. How many of you guys heard postpone before? Postpone, postpone, postpone. And that's all I heard. And weeks turned into months. And then my wonderful mom, sent me this letter. I can't believe you did this. You're going to prison. Don't call me, don't write me. I'll never see you again. If you've ever felt hopeless, I was completely hopeless at that moment. I had no hope. I had no hope. And I started just praying. And I said, God, I don't understand. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I don't have any family. I don't have any friends. I don't have anything. And I'm in a horrible place that I don't want to be in. It was kind of the pod where you don't ask why you're there. You don't share why you're there. Don't tell me why you're here. I don't want to hear it. And God said to me, love me and love people. I said, okay, get me out of here and I'll do that. And God said, no, love me and love people. I'm like, you don't understand. You don't understand. And God kept saying it to me, love me and love people. So, did I tell you I'm a pastor? I'm not here to preach at you. I love your higher power, accept it, embrace it. But my higher power, I had a connection with. And with my higher power, he speaks to me. And I argue with him sometimes. And I disagree with him sometimes. And then I tell him my plans, and then he laughs at me. I started in this pod, 72-man pod, and I said, okay, I'll hold a Bible study. So we had a one-day-a-week Bible study. And then 1 week turned into 2, then 3, then every single day, and then twice a day. And then I would go to court, and they would tell me, postpone, yes. So 1 week turned into 1 month, turned into 2 months, turned into 3 months, turned into 4 months, postpone, postpone, postpone. Finally, after 8 months of having this daily, twice-a-day Bible study, the shot caller in the pod, all the new guys that came in who were similar, color, he would tell them, look, here's the rules. I'm in charge. If you have any spiritual questions, go ask that guy over there. And he'd point to me. And at that moment, I realized something changed. Something shifted. I was actually doing what God told me to do. I was loving him. I was spending time with him. And I was trying to love people around me. Then my lawyer came to me and met with me in a room. And he said, look, here's the deal. They're going to give you 10 years. You'll do 8. Do you want to take the deal? I looked at him and I said, I'd rather go to prison for the rest of my life. then admit to doing what I didn't do. And he looked at me and said, good. That's what I wanted to hear. Because you see, kidnapping in California is life in prison, with the possibility of parole, so you'll spend the rest of your life trying to get appeals. And he said, you understand, when we go to trial for this, if we lose, you're going to prison for the rest of your life. And I said, you understand, I didn't do this, and I'm not going to cop out and punk out on this. Take me to trial and let's go. So I have the prelim. Go through the prelim, it's complete bogus. Stories changing, no sense, no evidence. And I'm thinking, this is great, they're going to let me go. And he says, no, it doesn't matter what she says. You're being accused of something. And anytime a woman accuses a guy of something like this, it goes all the way to trial unless you take a deal. So I go to trial, and I'm sitting in trial, and this thing goes for 2 weeks. And the first day, the witness comes to the stand, and she starts talking and telling what happened. And halfway through what she was saying, the district attorney walks up and hands her this big, thick binder, turns to this page and says, can you read this? And she read through it, and she said, oh, yeah, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's like she didn't even remember what she said at all. And the bailiff, taking me back on the first day, said, dude, why are you here? And I said, I don't know. And God told me, hardship is the pathway to peace. So a 2-week trial. Comes to the end of the trial. They put me in this little room about the size of this stage right here. There's a bed, there's a toilet. And I'm supposed to wait for them to deliberate. And at that time, I got on my knees. And I said, God, I'm done. I give up. I've lived my life my way, and look at where it's gotten me. I quit. I know that you're in charge of everything. I know nothing is greater than you. If you want me to go to prison, I'll go to prison, and I'll love you and love people there. If you want me to get out of here, I know you'll make it happen, and I'll love you and I'll love people when I get out. And then they call me back. They take me to the station, and I'm sitting there, shackles around my feet, still wearing a collar shirt and a tie. Multiple bailiffs in there because on life charges, they don't want the guy to freak out when he's sentenced. And the judge asked the jury, have you come to an agreement? And he said, yeah. So they hand it to him. Judge reads it, reads through it, and smirks. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And he hands it to the reporter, and the reporter stands up and says, we the people of the state of California. You got to understand, when a woman says something about a man, it doesn't matter. You're done. It works that way. And they said, we the people of the state of California find the defendant, Jeremiah Wright, not guilty. And there was like 17 different charges. They tried to throw everything they could at there to stick. And they get to this one charge, and I'm just crying. I'm bawling like a little boy. Like, emotions flood over me. Sitting in jail for almost a year, being told, postpone, postpone. No family, no one visiting me, no one to call, no letters, no money on my books, nothing. Just me and God. And they come to this one charge, and they say, we the people, state of California, find the defendant, Jeremiah, guilty. And I stopped for a minute, and my heart sunk. And then my lawyer, Manuel Nieto, one of the greatest men I ever met, I'll remember his name for the rest of my life, said, that was a misdemeanor charge. You're going to get out of jail tonight. So after all that, after a year in jail, after facing life in prison, they convicted me of a misdemeanor battery charge. I walked out of jail that night. And then God really hit me and met me right there. He says, you made a commitment to me. What are you going to do with that? I said, okay, God, I know you're in charge. I'm going to stay true to you. So I laid down my life. We talk about the third step, turning our life and will over to the care of God. We say that in a prayer. We say we do it once and we're fine. But for God, it's a daily thing. It's a daily reprieve. It's a daily, I want to do this. I have my plans. God, what do you want me to do? And I can tell you, 13 years ago when they let me out that front door, I had nothing. I had nobody. Apparently, I had $25 in my wallet when they arrested me and they didn't put me on my books. I was kind of pissed. And I had nowhere to go. So I called my mom and I'm like, look, Mom, they let me out. I was found not guilty. And she's like, well, good luck. You don't understand, Mom. I literally have nowhere to go. Is there any way you can please just let me stay the night? So she did. I stayed the night there. And then I was praying. It's like, God, what do you want me to do? It's like, I want you to go back to treatment. I'm like, I've been sober now, 8 years. Why would I go back to treatment? He says, you're broken. You're completely broken. I had so much anger vented up from sitting there. I envisioned myself going to my ex-wife and beating her in the face until she passed out. And then when she woke up, do it again until eventually she died. And I knew I had issues. I still had self-esteem issues. I had so many problems in my life. My problem wasn't substance use. A lot of us think our problem is substance use. But you take the substance use away and we're still broken. We're still angry. We're still traumatized. We still have poor self-esteem. We can't even look at ourselves in the mirror sometimes. So our problem right now isn't our substance use. Our problem is you. Our problem is me. So I went back to treatment. I called some friends. They let me back in, and I sat there for another 6 months. It was like 2 months of inpatient, 4 month outpatient. I know you guys are thinking, I would never do that. Well, probably most of you need that. I mean, I can tell you, what's the success rate for a 30-day program? 10%? 5? 2? Why? Because we think our problem is substance use. Our problem isn't substance use. Our problem is we've been rejected. Our problem is we've been broken. Our problem, we're hurt, we're angry, we're bitter. Our problem is we've been traumatized and we've never dealt with that. And if we don't address those things in our life, we're not going to stay sober. And I'm just being honest with you guys. I've been around treatment 27 years. I've been sober for 20 years. I work in treatment as a drug and alcohol counselor and a pastoral counselor. I'm going to school full-time still. I'm trying to get my master's degree so I can make more money. I'm just kidding. I'm married to the most wonderful woman I've ever met in my life. I never thought it would happen. I never thought I'd be married and be happy. I always settled for less. I always settled for less because I thought I didn't deserve something good. And now I'm actually married to my best friend. And I want to grow old with her. And I want to die with her. And I never thought I'd have that. And my ex-wife took my kids from me. And when I married my new wife, the most wonderful person, she had 2 kids, almost the exact same age as my kids. And I coached the youngest one's baseball team. I've been coaching his baseball for the last 4 years. He calls me Dad. You got to understand, 20 years ago, I was a meth addict. I was living in a truck. I was stealing, I was robbing, doing everything I can to avoid withdrawal. I probably would have sold myself. I was that deep into it. And today I stand for you, a pastor, a husband, a counselor, a father, a coach. And the same thing is possible for you if you're willing to turn your life and will daily over to a power greater than yourself. Thank you for sharing.
Come on, give it up for Mr. Jeremiah Wright. I love you, buddy. That was so good. So good. Standing ovation. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy for sure.